Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera everybody. Welcome to PSA 3013 Public Sector Accounting. So in this video, we will be discussing about auditing in the public sector. In this video, we will be looking at the second learning outcome of the chapter, which is to describe the regulatory framework for public sector auditing in Malaysia.
The governing body for the conduct of public sector auditing in Malaysia refers to the National Audit Department, Jabatan Audit Negara, that is headed by the Auditor General. The NAD uses the auditing standards known as the Standard Pengauditan as the main reference in governing and conducting various types of auditing. The audit mandates for public sector auditing in Malaysia are Federal Constitution 1957 and the Audit Act 1957. In addition to that, the government auditors are also required to conform to other professional standards and regulations established by the Malaysian Institute of Accountants, the International Organizations of Supreme Audit Institution, and the Asian Organizations of Supreme Audit Institutions. So apart from that, our auditors also use the widely accepted professional account audit standards for public sector auditing, such as, for example, the internal standards for the professional practice of internal auditing issued by the Institute of Internal Auditors. In Malaysia, the laws related to auditing are intended to provide frameworks to audit government entities. There are provisions related to public sector auditing provided by a number of frameworks, and as mentioned previously, there are two main laws. The first one is the Federal Constitution and the second one is the Audit Act 1957. Article 105, 106 and 107 spell out the matters regarding the appointment, powers and duties as well as the reports of the Auditor General. You can have a look at the details here in this page. The Audit Act 1957 represents the main act that provides the provisions for the audit of Malaysian public sectors. It makes provision for the audit of the accounts of the Federation, of the states and of the certain other authorities and specified bodies. The Act not only provides the framework within which audit of the government is required and enacted, but also the basis for the scope and type of audit necessary for public bodies. There are also provisions related to the AG, Auditor General, types of audit, confidentiality and independence, and audit report. The government's financial statement must be submitted for audit within a period of 7 months after the close of the year. If they are not received by the date, the AG must make a report to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, which will then cause a report to be laid before the legislature. However, there is no statutory date imposed for the examination and audit of the financial statement. Although in practice, the statements are usually audited within 3 months. Nevertheless, the Act does not state the manner in which audit of public bodies is to be performed. So this means that the audit procedure therefore become the discretion of the AG, but it must be in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards.
There are altogether 11 sections in the Audit Act 1957, and here you are presented with the outline for Section 1 to Section 5. Section 1 talks about the coverage of the Act, which is to the audit of the accounts of the Federation, of the states and other public authorities and specified bodies. However, in July 2024, there has been an amendment to the Audit Act in which this amendment will empower the Auditor General to examine, inquire into and audit the accounts of any other body other than that is listed in this Audit Act, including companies registered under the Companies Act 2016 in receipt of financial guarantee given by the Federation or the state. Alright, so in section 2 it talks about the interpretation or the definition of public monies, and you can see that the terms and condition of the service of the Auditor General is outlined in section 3, while section 4 talks about the remuneration of Auditor General. And as we have learned, and the remuneration to the Auditor General is to be charged on the consolidated fund. And in section 5, it outlines the duties of the Auditor General. For example, the Auditor General can examine, inquire into and audit the accounts of accounting officers of the Federation and of the states, and so many more, plus the recent amendment in which they can audit any other body, including companies registered under the Companies Act 2016. Meanwhile, Section 6 talks about the nature of the audit that may be conducted by the Auditor General, and Section 7 is regarding the powers of the Auditor General. So if you are interested in looking at the details, you can actually download the Audit Act that I have shared with you in my Guru. And finally, as you can see here, the remaining section in the Audit Act is Section 8 that talks about secrecy. Section 9 is on the presentation of the audit report. Section 10 is on regulation, and the final section, Section 11, which is not listed here, is regarding the power to amend the schedule.
This page illustrates the framework for public sector auditing in the Malaysian government. Each public sector organisation is expected to maintain proper accounting system and practice for every program and activity, in which record keeping is carried out on its daily operations, and that at the end of accounting year, annual financial statements will be prepared. As sanctioned by the Article 106 of the Federal Constitution, the Auditor General has the responsibility to audit the financial statements of each government organizations and assures that the financial statement comply with relevant standards and regulation. Following that, Section 9 of the Audit Act 1957 requires audit report to be generated by the AG as the outcome of the annual audit. The overall audit process, however, does not end at this stage. Bukannya bila dapat audit report tu terus berakhir. The audited financial statement and the audit report will then be presented to a parliamentary committee known as the PAC, Public Accounts Committee. The PAC will review the respective statements and report as well as provide comments on any related aspects that further require more attention, and then offer constructive suggestions for further improvements. The mission of the NAD Malaysia relates to the carrying out of audit in a professional and independent manner and to produce balanced report to the Parliament and state legislature towards enhancing good governance in the public sector. Situated in Putrajaya, NAD has other 13 branches which are stationed at the various states. NAD is headed by the Auditor General and is organized into 8 key sectors, namely Federal Government Audit, State Government Audit, Management, Corporate Affairs and many more. The primary objectives of NAD include things such as to prepare quality and timely audit reports to the Parliament and state legislature. However, the NAD of Malaysia does not fall under any particular jurisdiction of powers under the organisation structure of the Malaysian government and the position of Auditor General. It is an independent body set up under the requirement of the Federal Constitution, supported by other government systems and procedures. So the NAD is basically entrusted to ensure the existence of accountability in the administration and management of public funds through the audit of accounts and activities of public sector organizations. So the NAD actually has its own website, and you can go and have a look at the website, and the link is as given in this page. With respect to audit responsibilities, the federal audit sector is responsible for the audit of the federal ministries and departments. The state audit sector is responsible for the audit of the accounts of all state departments, statutory bodies and respective Islamic religious council. And the federal statutory bodies sector carries the responsibilities to audit the statutory bodies at federal level as well as the government-linked companies. The Auditor General's powers have been strengthened and his responsibilities are broadened with the enforcement of the Audit Act 1957, Amendment 1978 and 1983. In accordance with Article 105 of the Federal Constitution, the Auditor General or Ketua Audit Negara is appointed by Yang di-Pertuan Agong on the advice of the Prime Minister and after the consultation with the Conference of Rulers. He is eligible for reappointment but not for any other appointment in the service of federal or state. His remuneration is provided by the Parliament and charged on the Consolidated Fund according to Article 98 and shall not be altered to his disadvantage after his appointment. The Auditor General is responsible to enhance the standard of public accountability by reporting and providing an assurance to the Parliament and state legislature through a timely and accurate reporting of the government's financial statement and the proper management of resources. The duties of the AG are being explained further in Section 5, Subsection 1 of the Audit Act, in which he shall examine, inquire and audit, for example, the accounts of the Federation and the states, the accounts of any separate fund established in a state or the federal territory under Article 97 of the Federal Constitution, the accounts of any public authority or body so is provided by law, the accounts of any other body including a company registered under the Companies Act in receipt of public grant or loan, and the accounts of any other public authority upon the request of the Minister of Finance in the interest of the public. So we can see that it is therefore mandatory for the AG to conduct the final audit the financial audit in order to certify the financial statements of the federation, of the states, and other public authorities and public bodies as required by the law. With the amendment to the Audit Act 1983, the Auditor General is now empowered to conduct the performance audit of the programs and activities of all entities subject to his audit. The PAC, Public Accounts Committee, is one of the parliamentary committee with the responsibility of being the parliamentary watchdog over public monies. The House of Representatives, Dewan Rakyat, appoints the PAC at the earliest possible time after the beginning of each parliament session. It comprises between 6 to 12 members drawn from the major parties represented in the parliament. The PAC is to assist the Dewan Rakyat, the House of Representatives, in inquiring into financial matters of the government. It also will highlight the main areas which may require notice of the entire House in the House of Representatives to debate and to act upon. The PAC is also established at the state level. This committee is empowered by the Standing Order 775 of the Standing Ordinance as well as Section 10 of the House of Parliament Ordinance 1951. The Standing Order basically provides the PAC with the power to and responsibilities on the following matters as highlighted in this particular page. But generally, the main objective of PAC is to ensure that there is a proper accountability of funds by public officials. This committee will examine the auditor's report pertaining to whether the expenditures overrun the authorized limit and whether monies appropriated are not spent in accordance with approved rules and regulations. Besides, the PAC will also examine as to whether individual programs achieve its objective and whether the value of money is being obtained in the government spending. This page also gives you the official web of the Parliament Public Accounts Committee. The official web of Parliament PAC, in which you can go and visit to retrieve the report of the PAC that have been tabled at the Parliament.